Welcome to the Experience of the Soul podcast with Cynthia Alice Anderson, a weekly show helping you grow, prosper, and evolve. Today, episode 331, The Problem of Fear. And now, Experience of the Soul.
Hello, friends, and welcome to the Experience of the Soul podcast. My name is Cynthia Alice Anderson. I'm the host. I'm here today with my fantastic producer.
Hi, everybody. This is Sean Kilgore here, your producer. Happy and blessed to be here with you, as always, for episode 331 of the Experience of the Soul podcast with Cynthia Alice Anderson. Today, we are talking about the problem of fear. Before we get to that, as always, we want to do our shout outs. Today, we are shouting out to a brand new YouTube subscriber who just joined us this week, Rosa Hernandez. So Rosa, welcome. Welcome to the YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us. We hope you are enjoying the content, and definitely reach out to us. Let us know what you're checking out, what you're listening to, leave some comments, or if you happen to jump over to any other major podcast platform, you can send us a text message directly through the show notes there of any major podcast platform that you might be joining us from. So, but welcome, Rosa. We're so happy to have you join us.
Yes, Rosa, welcome. And as we love to say, bienvenidos. Bienvenidos. Indeed. So happy to have you, my friend, and blessings on your journey, and always honored to have a new subscriber. It means the world to me. You know, I would love to get up to 1,000 people, but I'm not willing to have false numbers to do that.
Yeah, we're well on our way organically, which I think is the best way to do it. You know, it's, you know,
I think it's the most integrous way. I know you can buy or, you know, pay for these things. Anyway, I love when real people like Rosa Hernandez subscribe. Thank you so much, Rosa. Yes. Muchísimas gracias. Yes.
Absolutely.
And also to a place, too, that we're having some new downloads or recent downloads, I should say.
Yep, we have had some recent downloads in Tokyo, Japan. So welcome to our listeners in Tokyo. Thank you for downloading the episodes. We hope you are enjoying the content as well. And we'd love to hear more from you as well. So whatever podcast platform you're joining us on, just go ahead and hit that send us a text message right at the top of those show notes, and let us know, who you are, what you think of the content, and what we're putting out there. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes, definitely. Arigato gozaimasu. Very, very happy and honored to have you join us. And, you know, I just want to say to you, o genki desu ka? Hi, genki desu. How are you? Nice to have you. Ohayou gozaimasu. I only know a few phrases in Japanese. The one I know the best is chotto matte kudasai, which you in Tokyo are laughing. It just means wait just a moment, please. So hopefully you understood that, but yes, we welcome you. We bless you. We thank you. And, I've had a love of the Japanese culture for many, many years. I had a student a million years ago. I worked in music retail, and one of my employees was a high school student who was Japanese, and his mom taught, the language. And I was really wanting to learn to communicate with him. And I asked his mom if she would help me. And this was the days of cassette tapes. And she made me a cassette tape. And I would always listen to it on my commute. And I would be able to communicate somewhat. You know, Japanese has so many, what would I say? Levels of respect and honoring that the white culture we're totally unaware of. But it was a beautiful gift from a good friend, and I still remember so many of the lessons just because of that. So I don't know, it always makes me smile when somebody in Japan is listening because of my love of the culture. Yes, bless you.
That's very cool. Very cool.
Yes, really, really sweet. So nice to have you along. And wow, I'm really looking forward to talking about today about our title. Sean, give us that one more time.
Absolutely. Welcome officially, friends, to episode 331 of the Experience of the Soul podcast, The Problem of Fear.
Yeah. I wanted to take a deep breath. I was looking out at my window somehow as Sean was speaking, and some of these topics recently that I'm going into, for me, almost it brought tears to my eyes, I think, because of the many, many things going on in our culture, certainly in the US right now, but not just in the US, it's all over the world. That fear is prevalent. People's activities are being motivated by fear largely. And, you know, fear is running rampant in certainly certain neighborhoods, certainly in the US right now. Um, People who've come to this country for a variety of reasons are terrified. It doesn't help that politicians are speaking things that are elevating the fear and the sense of danger. And frankly, I find that people who are supposed to be our leaders are using fear to motivate votes and everything else. And fear is um, fear is evil, almost, in my opinion, because fear robs us of the freedom of the present moment. Fear robs us of the freedom of the present moment and to be in God and to be present to the soul. It can be a daunting task to speak about fear because of how prevalent it is. It's like, well, how do you live without fear? So I want us just to take our time in thinking about it, because fear really, in the US culture, and I'd love to hear from people who are listening around the world, to think about how is fear prevalent in your culture, or what is the prevalent emotion? What is the what are the driving forces, I guess, of behavior? And we're in the United States, we are nearing an election, and anytime there's an election cycle, the fear and the spinning of stories, and I will say lies, that whip up fear, increase. And people that are supposed to be our leaders and provide safety and comfort and love and security are instead causing fear among their constituents. So I have a real sense of spiritual responsibility simply to bring it to the surface, to make us aware, because I think individually and collectively, fear is a major problem in our societies today around the world. And I think even in our churches and our spiritual centers, there's fear. I can't think of a single place where there's not fear. And I find, interestingly, that the healthiest places I know are the places that discuss the fear, that confront the fear, that face the fear, and seek to see, what is this fear here for? What is this fear showing me? Is this fear warranted or unwarranted? Am I stuck? Am I in fear and stuck in the past? So am I fearful because of what happened in the past? Or am I fearful about what could happen in the future? I saw an old interview recently with the fighter, the boxer, Mike Tyson. It was really interesting to hear someone of that athletic ability and that ability to defend themselves talk about being in fear their entire lives, and how it manifested was he would go on the attack. And we'll even put a short link to it, like a really brief excerpt of that interview from Instagram. We'll put that in the show notes for you for sure. But think about that in relation to your own life. Are you fearful now about something that happened 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago? Even though you've survived it, even though you've come through the worst, even though it isn't happening now. So when we don't do the healing work that's necessary, when we don't seek support, guidance, when we don't forgive, the reality is that we live as if the hurt, the pain, for some of us, it could be even abuse. We live now as if it's still happening, even if it were 20, 30, or 40 years ago. And fear is what keeps it alive. So you see how fear is really a prison of the mind. Fear is a prison of the mind. Most of us, if we're not fearful of what has been, we're fearful of what is to come. And often those are a moment apart. We might be off in the past, and then pretty soon we're zooming into the future, worrying about what will be, what could be, etc. So our gift, as I see it, is our gift in the work that we're doing here, is that to know God and to be able to come back to the present moment. Because when we breathe deeply, when we meditate, fear dissolves. Fear goes away. When we're in the present moment, we can't be in the past or in the future. So in the present moment, there's freedom, there's peace. Now, as I say this, I had recently done some very deep therapeutic work and realized that there was a way I had been holding fear, and the way I was holding fear was largely unconscious, meaning I was not aware of how fear was controlling my mind. I was worried about a situation. I was fearful of what might happen because of what had happened in the past. And I realized that not everyone is like, the people in that situation. And that by believing that there was something to fear, I was actually replicating those situations. In other words, I myself was causing myself harm by replaying present moments as if they were the past. I hope that makes sense what I'm saying. In other words, I was unconsciously bringing the past into today by being in fear. I didn't realize it. So I was glad. This is why I do my own therapeutic work. I was glad that I was able to see very clearly, oh my goodness. And I saw it through working with a dream I had. Yeah, it was really a beautiful, beautiful awareness. And it was like something just fell away. It was like, there's that story in the Christian scriptures about scales falling off the eyes, of when the man's sight was restored. I felt like I got some sight restored when I realized what I was doing from the dream and working that dream. It was such a gift that I could just become fully present in the moment and know I am safe. I am safe in God. It is okay to trust. It is okay to trust life. I don't have to figure out every single thing before it happens. I don't have to, take care of people that should be taking care of themselves because I'm fearing for them. My job is to take care of me and my small family and to provide spiritual inspiration. That's what I'm to do. So I felt like I could breathe once I realized how I'd been holding this fear. So, yeah, as I'm saying all this, you might say, well, yeah, I don't think I'm in fear. Well, it's like I said about my own journey. Sometimes the fear we're holding is unconscious. Like sometimes we're afraid to have conversations because we think somebody's going to get mad, but the conversation needs to be had. Well, when you start looking at fear, when you start facing fear, you realize that if you don't have conversations that need to be had, that you're creating a prison for yourself because you're not speaking words that need to be spoken, which means you're not flowing with life. We know we're at peace when our thoughts and feelings match our words and actions. That's peace. When my thoughts and feelings match my words and actions, that's peace. That's a great question to ask ourselves. And as a matter of fact, when I'm working with my journal, which is what our show was about last week, when I'm working with my journal, I'll often, if my I am of the day is peace, I will often write in the affirmation, my thoughts and feelings match my words and actions. And if there's somehow that they're not matching up, I know there's work for me to do. Maybe there's internal work for me to do. Maybe there's conversations to have because something is out of alignment. Something is incoherent somehow. Because thoughts and feelings should be matching words and actions in general. But see, if I'm in fear, The fear controls me. If I'm in fear, I'm thinking one thing and doing another because I'm afraid. So yeah, give that some thought. Give that some thought. What were you going to say something there, Sean?
I was able to pull in the video of Mike Tyson talking about that, so we can share that within the show here if you like.
Oh, sure. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to go ahead and play that for you now.
Mm-hmm.
All my life I thought I was this tough guy. Even recently I was talking about if they say something I'll blow the place. And I do all this stuff all my life because I'm afraid. And if you tell me what I'm afraid of, I can't even tell you what.
Fear is not about something. Fear is just your inability to manage your thoughts. They are running away ahead of you. Fear is always about something that's yet to happen, isn't it?
Yes.
So that means you are suffering something that does not exist. 99% of the human population is in this condition. They are suffering things which do not exist. What happened 10 years ago, they still suffer. What may happen day after tomorrow, they already suffer. What happened 10 years ago does not exist right now. What may happen day after tomorrow does not exist right now. But things that don't exist, they suffer.
Yeah, wow, that's
powerful.
Isn't that powerful? Wow. Yeah, exactly. I love how he said they don't exist. It's like we make them exist through our thoughts. And those are called thought forms, unconscious thought forms. We make them reality through our thoughts. And with what we know about how energy works and how the mind works, is that as we hold thoughts with a lot of energy, we're actually, as I said earlier, recreating these situations for ourselves over and over and over because we're expecting bad things to happen. And I'm not saying we live in a Pollyanna world view, but I'm saying that there are fears that are not valid based on our current situation. I mean, there's certain fears. Obviously, you are fearful to cross the street when cars are coming. Well, that's a valid fear to have because that would be dangerous for you. But that's not the kind of fear we're talking about. We're talking about debilitating fear that keeps us in the past or in the future instead of in the present moment. Because if we're stuck in the past and we're stuck in the future, we're not experiencing right now. Like we're missing the gift that the present moment has to offer. It's like, what's going to happen? What's going to, or this did happen. And we are constantly recreating these situations. And then, as I said, what's so difficult about facing fear and moving through fear is then when there are people that are supposed to be our leaders are causing more fear, it's a lot to combat it with our own spiritual practice. And it's why I wanted to speak about it, because a lot of times, even in our spiritual communities, as I mentioned, there's fear. Fear of what somebody's going to think, fear of I'm not measuring up, fear of, all of these things, all of these kinds of fears. So what we seek to do in the Experience of the Soul, podcast family is really to live from love, to live from soul. And we often talk about coming back to our own center simply by the use of the breath. Simply by the use of the breath. By taking a deep breath, by centering ourselves, by being present to what is. As I spoke about last week with the journal, my intentions journal, it's so important that we start the day every day with asking, God, what is my highest call for this day? Well, the highest call is never going to be in fear. It's going to be present to the holy, to the sacred, being present to the gift that life has to offer, being present to where you are, being present in your body. I've interestingly worked with people over the years who, have had, physical challenges. And often they're very hard workers. They're working in a corporate setting. And I've had people tell me, well, I knew something was wrong, but I was so afraid of finding out what it was. I just kept avoiding it and kept working. And so they use work as an addiction to check out, and fear was contributing to that. And pretty soon they find out the problem is so big that not only can they not work for a while, that life as they know it shifts in a big way, because they had not listened to their body. They had not listened to the signs. Fear was preventing being educated. Fear was preventing the self-care, the self-knowledge to get the proper medical care they needed, or in some cases, to get the right medication they needed. You see, so fear is harmful in so many ways. And fear always is trying to keep us stuck and keep us small. Fear is the language of the personality, and love and presence is the language of the soul. But fear keeps us stuck. It keeps us stuck in the prison of the mind instead of being present in the freedom of the soul. There's a great book, and I reference it often, and it was interesting. I just had a friend today tell me that they had gone back to that book because of how important it is on their journey, because it's real easy to, when we're looking at life, to think about what should have been. I'm sure we all have feelings of regret and things we wish would have happened differently. And the book is by an author named Byron Katie, and it's called Loving What Is. And in that book, it's really about being in the present moment. She calls what we do arguing with reality, and how we argue with reality is wishing things were different, wishing things had been different. But when we're wishing things were different, it means something that's happening now shouldn't be happening, and we're not really in reality because we're resisting what's happening. That's through fear. It's like, if I see what's happening, I'm going to have to do something about it, right? So this often happens in cases of addiction and things like that. Like, if I can just pretend my husband or my partner or whatever is not drinking, then I'm not going to have to do anything about it, even though you're watching them kill themselves through drinking. Yeah. So that's fear. That's fear that keeps us from healing. It's fear that keeps the alcoholic and drug addict in addiction. It is fear. What will I do without this? I can't survive without this. So just be mindful. I mean, that's really all I'm thinking of for myself today. I'm saying this to myself. I just simply want to be mindful of, is fear running my show right now? Am I in the present moment, or am I off in the past, or am I stuck in the past, or off in the future? Because what I want to do, where I want to be, is in the present moment. I want to be here now, experiencing life, enjoying life. I want to be able to see what's happening. When I'm present, I'll know what's mine to do, when and how to do it. But if I'm stuck in the past or off in the future, I can't possibly know what's mine to do now, because I'm not in reality. As he said, I'm in this, I've created, my mind is in a place that doesn't even exist. It's replaying an old message, an old tape of what was, not bringing me into what is. And it is fear that does that. And somehow I think we think, we can't handle what's happening right now, when in fact, if you're holding on to this fear of the past and the future, the present is much better than fear. I will tell you, being in the present moment is much more wonderful than being in fear. The only reason we go to fear is because it's what we know, not because it feels better. Over time, as we grow, as we, do our own internal work to mature as souls, as we start evolving on our spiritual journey, we find that, facing the fear, confronting the fear, there's a lot of learning. There's a lot of growth. Life gets better and easier when we're not living from fear. Yeah. So think about what is my mindset today? And in the US, I want you to really think about, what is your mindset about how you're moving forward? What is your mindset from day to day? What is your mindset about your life experience? Are you in fear or are you in the present moment? Are you in love or are you in fear? What I know is that the present moment is a gift from God because in the present moment there is peace. I've recently been doing a lot of forgiveness work and a lot of deep psychological work, seeking to heal some really, really old things. And the more I forgive and release and let go, the more easily I'm falling into the present moment. It's like, oh, you know what? This feels good. Why was I resisting this? And even though I can see things I want to change about, what maybe something I'm doing, or, I might have a divine idea about something I want to accomplish. What I know is, I'm safe. I'm at peace. All is well. In the present moment, there's peace. In fear, there's turmoil. There's worry. There's anxiety. There is, you know, drama. In the present moment, when I can breathe, go to my heart, there's love, there's presence, there's peace, there's wisdom, and there's even hope. So if you could right now, with whatever you're doing, just take a deep breath. I just wonder how that might feel. I wonder how that might feel, simply to breathe and be present to who you are and who God is in you. See if you can get to the present moment right now. You can be happy now. I have a dear friend named Reverend Leilani Burt, and she always says, breathe and go to your heart. Taking a deep breath is a great way to become present to what is. And friends, I want to assure you that the more you can come into the present moment, not only the more peaceful you will be, but the more wise, the more loving, because you are going to be dealing with life on life's terms. And you're going to be able to bring the spirituality into it by breathing, going to your heart, and being at peace. Fear creates chaos. It creates worry. It creates anxiety. Breathing, the present moment, being in love, creates so much goodness, so much holiness, and connects you with all that is. I've found that even if there's a lot going on, if I can say breathe and go to your heart, and I get just 3 deep breaths, sometimes it even happens in one, but 3 deep breaths take care of almost any fear that I have these days. Because I know from all this practice that the present moment is full of love, it's full of joy, it's full of peace. And I know that God loves me. I know that God has good in mind for me. Breathe and go to your heart, my friend. There is nothing to fear. Breathe and go to your heart. As we rest in this place, we know that we're connected, we know that we're loved, and we know that in this moment, that this moment contains all moments. There's nothing to fear. There's nothing to be worried or anxious about. In God, all is well. My soul is at peace. So for our time together today, we simply give thanks, knowing that we are connected, knowing that we are supported, and we affirm that we are guided and guarded by the Holy Spirit. We are loved. We are safe. We are blessed. And so it is. Amen. Thank you for listening today, dear friends. Blessings on the journey.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Experience of the Soul podcast with Cynthia Alice Anderson, helping you grow, prosper, and evolve. This podcast is made possible because of listeners and viewers just like you. If you would like to support the podcast with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head on over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. The Experience of the Soul podcast is copyright 2024 Cynthia Alice Anderson, all rights reserved, and is produced by Sean Kilgore.
A production of the Soulworks Group, Incorporated.
Hey friends, Sean here, your Experience of the Soul producer. I want to take a moment to tell you about something truly exciting. The Soulworks online community, created by your host, Cynthia Alice Anderson, and available on the Mighty Networks app. If you're looking for a place where you can explore your spiritual path, connect with others, and grow in a meaningful way, then this is for you. Soulworks is so much more than an online community. It's a safe, inclusive space for spiritual exploration, self-discovery, and personal transformation. Inside the community, you'll find everything from uplifting spiritual studies to soul-centered growth practices, meditations, affirmations, and so much more. It's a space where you'll always be supported and never judged. The best part, membership is free. You'll have access to powerful resources, inspiring content, and a supportive group of like-minded people who are all on their own unique spiritual journeys. And if you're ready to dive deeper, there are premium options available to enhance your experience, with a live Monday night talk series and extended, deeper meditations. If you're seeking a place to connect, grow, and nurture your soul, we would love to have you join us in the Soulworks community and see where this journey can take you. Visit my.soulworkscommunity.com today.